Welcome to the Solid Verbal. The Solid Verbal.
Come after me! I'm a man! I'm 40!
I've heard so many players say, well, I want to be happy. You want to be happy for a day? Eat a steak.
It's that woo-woo!
And now, Dan and Ty.
Welcome back to the Solid Verbal, boys and girls. My name is Ty Hildenbrand. Joining me over there in rainy yet still fatherly New York City, my man, feeling a bit under the weather, Dan Rubenstein, sir. How you doing?
I am reinvigorated, Tyler.
Okay.
I am feeling good. It's been a successful day, both as a father and as a general human. We've got good college basketball on TV. We're recording this at around 5 p.m. Eastern.
Yeah, man. Hey, dogs are barking out there. The dogs are barking in your brackets. Hope you picked a bunch of underdogs. Hope you got in on the Solid Verbal bracket pool we had. I lost count. Several hundred entries that got in.
Yeah, it's pushing into 1,000, yeah.
With a crush at the last second, as per usual. But started off on the right foot by killing off one of my NCAA survivor pool entries in Louisville, going down Louisville.
Louisville.
But yeah, off to a good start.
Absolutely. It is a fun time of year as we have teams practicing, spring practice. I know Oregon, I think, is on a break right now. Has Notre Dame started?
I have no idea. Didn't go there. I have no idea.
That's a good answer. Has Penn State started?
No idea.
Yeah. We have a number of questions both about college football and, I don't know, it just felt right. So now I'm just getting lazier and lazier about what topics I ask for. I just got a haircut. Like, all right, ask about haircuts. Newborn baby? Yep, check. Got that going on in my life. We got a lot of shows about TV shows, which I didn't ask for, but we got a lot of that. We got some grilling questions. Yeah. There's a lot of good stuff. Oh, I said third dates. I was just curious to see how people would take that, but we have third date questions, Ty.
Terrific. Yeah. Well, as you know, it is the college football off season, and what we're trying to do is basically what we did last year, where we did one Q&A show per month. These are typically among the more popular off-season shows that we do because we get to give back to the Verballerhood and answer some questions that are out there. Dan, as you know, you put out some specific topics of which we received a number of different questions, but we also got a bunch of college football ones. Yeah. And I think that's where we're going to start, because that's where we typically like to start. And maybe we'll even play a little bit of a chime as we go through this to alert people when we maybe make that awkward transition over to non-football or more non-football material.
Solid Verbal After Hours.
All right. Shall we dance?
Let's.
Congratulations, Skippy. You've got mail.
You've got mail on the Solid Verbal.
Let's dust off that sound, Dan. As often as we can, we like to pay homage. Thank you to those of you who write in solidverbal@gmail.com, to those of you who tweet us, who send us notes on Facebook, on Instagram, on Reddit, you name it. Anywhere you put the messages, we did our best to go through those, digest them. And for the first time ever, we actually went through and highlighted some of our favorites before hitting the record button, which means we're growing as adults.
I think that's right. I think that means I guess this is growing up.
That's right.
We have these moments every now and then. We have our damn it moments, and here we are. You want to start with transfer talk?
I want to start with Quinn. Quinn says, does Tate Martell being eligible immediately at Miami open the door for more/all transfers not having to sit out a year in the future? So Tate Martell, highly regarded recruit from Ohio State. After the coaching move, after the Justin Fields transfer, Tate Martell decides that he's going to go elsewhere, picks Miami, files a case with the NCAA, is granted immediate eligibility. This is now, I guess, the third high-profile transfer in just 2 seasons to be named immediately eligible, starting with Shea Patterson, Justin Fields, and now Tate Martell. Dan, does this open the door for more of the same?
It's a slippery slope, Ty.
Right.
Yes and no. My assumption, well, first of all, we don't know what was in Tate Martell's appeal. We have somewhat of an idea that what was in Justin Fields' appeal. And we have a good idea of what was in Shea Patterson's appeal. I would assume the highest profile cases of appealing for immediate eligibility in the past couple of years, right?
Correct.
I hope I'm not leaving anybody out, but I might be. I don't know. So, one, we don't know what's in Tate Martell's actual appeal, but we do know that his head coach retired. And we do know that a quarterback transferred in, which doesn't feel like a good enough reason to be immediately eligible elsewhere. But without fully knowing the case, it's hard to fully comment. I also want to believe that many quarterbacks want to succeed at the place they go, that it's not their choice to leave, to start over again with a new system, with new friends, new classes, new dating, new social life, learning everything new. And I understand that for somebody as high profile as these guys, it's in their heads a kind of business decision. I got to start. I got to put myself in position to be seen and to succeed and maybe get the attention of NFL scouts.
The old Silas Red business decision, sure.
Correct. Yes. But there is a part of me that says, well, this sort of changes the dynamic where, a player is unhappy and he just leaves. I don't believe players want to be unhappy. I don't think players want to just go when they're like not happy for a day. I don't think a lot of these decisions are just impulsive and I'm not happy here, I want to start there. I think a lot goes into these decisions. So to look at it as if like the paradigm is changing and college football is ruined, I think sort of misses it a little bit. That said, I understand the fear. I understand you're like, we have this 4-star receiver and he's not starting. He's going to leave. We have this 5-star quarterback and he's not starting as a true freshman. He's going to leave. It sucks to have like your future be in doubt constantly.
Yeah.
I just don't, I'm somewhere, I understand that because if an Oregon player were to do this because he was unhappy sitting behind an incumbent starter, I'd be like, oh, that sucks. It was nice to have that depth and have him be the future someday. But at the same time, you're like, kid realized he made a mistake when he was 16, or kid couldn't have seen his offensive coordinator leaving or his coach retiring, or, they're leaving their conference, all sorts of changes that are out of his hands. So I get both sides of it. I really think it's overblown that suddenly we're going to see, all these players transferring without having to sit out a year. I think people are just panicking with sort of a recency bias. It's also March.
It is also
not a lot
March.
to panic over.
We got a question from Derek who asks, to your point, is the transfer rule out of control? Are there any real consequences for leaving early? And I think I agree with you. Now, a little bit of recency bias, if you want to call it that, given that, again, we've had 3 very high-profile quarterbacks in under 2 seasons now transfer and be ruled immediately eligible.
And to reset things, this is Tate Martell, immediately eligible, transferring from Ohio State, a former 5-star quarterback, to Miami.
To Miami. Yes. Thank you. I don't think that we are spiraling out of control with this rule, but there's no doubt if you look at what's transpired over the last year or so now, that it seems more attainable. If you're a recruit out there and you're thinking, I might want to go elsewhere, it seems like this is at least maybe more doable than it's been in recent memory. So the door has been somewhat opened. I am with you, though. I don't think we're quite at the point where it's gotten out of control. And I do think college football is going to need to take a look at this and figure out a way that you can be fair to players in a way that, gives them the amount of flexibility, maybe not to the same degree as coaches who can just leave whenever they want and go elsewhere, but Dixie Chicks, room to make the big mistake, that sort of thing. College football needs to figure out a way to accommodate that.
And I think there are probably considerations we don't know about in these appeals process that are presented to the NCAA if, a player has good grades and he has never had discipline issues. And there are extenuating circumstances outside of what the public knows, be it with, and, these sorts of things do leak if it's an illness in the family or whatever. There's always more to the story than,
sure.
And this is my assumption, then, I was unhappy. I want to go to this school now and I want to play tomorrow. Like, I don't think it's a Violet Beauregard situation.
Well, there is usually more nuance to a situation than what you read in the news. And that's probably the case here. There just has to be a happy medium between the old rule where you can't go anywhere without sitting out a year and a full-on transfer market.
And I don't think we're going to basketball either. I don't think it's going to be a situation where, somebody's going to play for 3-4 different schools. I think the Tate 4CAs, and shout out to all the Tate quarterbacks out there that are a little bit shorter we're going to have to make these jokes if there's a new Tate coming along in 2021 or something.
Sure.
But it was unfortunate that, this is the start of this conversation, another Tate transferring from the West Coast. So, yeah, I think that's right. And I really don't see this as, the breaking of the dam.
Breaking of the dam. All right, let's move on. Let's go to Graylin. He says, what would be more surprising? Arkansas finishing in the top 3 in the SEC West, or Alabama finishing somewhere other than first in the West, Daniel?
Yeah.
I think this is sort of a no-brainer.
I think Arkansas finishing in the top 3. I hate when the radio hosts say, I will eat my hat.
Yeah.
I will eat my shoe. But Arkansas finishing in the top 3 this year would mean for some pretty apocalyptic goings on in the SEC West, which I don't want to joke about. I don't want to run through, but you're obviously talking about weird, unforeseen coaching changes and injuries, because with what Arkansas put on the field last year, I get it. Changing to a more open offense and a pro style system and getting, Chad Morris's guys in the program, and they bring in a top 25 recruiting class this year, 9, 10, 11 blue chip kids coming in, including a 4-star quarterback and some transfers at quarterback, including Nick Starkel from Texas A&M, Ben Hicks from SMU. It's not there. It's not there to me
hey,
right now.
0-8 in conference last year, 2-8 overall. You look around the west side of the SEC. Alabama's Alabama, LSU, A&M, Auburn. All of them are pretty stocked. I'm not going to say Auburn is looking like a 10-win team, but all of those teams are already starting from a place where they're pretty stocked. Mississippi State and Ole Miss.
Oh, yeah.
I think both in a much better spot than Arkansas. Again, amid the transition, you would expect some bumps, but to jump into the top 3, like you said, it would somehow need to involve an apocalyptic scenario.
I agree. And 2020, 2021, 2022, it's a conversation we can have, especially if there's a promising quarterback. But right now, it's going to take a lot. It's going to take a lot for that kind of seismic shift, because there's too much. There's just too much in the West right now. That is not necessarily excellent in the way that it was, I believe, in 2014, but impressively competent.
All right, Dan, let's go over to Bob. What up, Bob? He says 2 questions.
Do you know I almost named the Solid Baby Bob?
No.
And by almost, I pitched it. It was immediately shot down with, wait, are you serious?
Did you
mean like Robert or Bobby?
That's not nice to our Robert and Bob and Bobby listeners.
No, I wanted it.
Did you pitch Robert or did you pitch Bob?
Straight Bob.
Huh.
Straight baby Bob. I felt like it would catch people off guard. I felt like it could, at least in maybe his social group, like, ooh, I like that.
So you would have gone Bob and not Rob.
I don't like Robert. It as much. I don't like Bob as much as his actual name, but like in the pitch sessions, it came up as something I liked.
Let's go to Bob.
Yeah, my
2
guy.
questions. Can we, in all caps, can we win a playoff game with Brian Kelly as our head coach? This is a Notre Damer here. Can we win?
Who's to say? Maybe it's a New Mexico State fan.
With Brian Kelly as our head coach. I know he can get us there, and he's 100 times better than Charlie Weiss, but can he do it? Mm-hmm. Secondly, what are proper expectations for the third date, and should they be revised if a person was born in a Latin American
We'll
country?
get to that question after hours.
We will get to the third date.
There's a lot there.
Yeah, a lot of meat on that bone. We'll get to that in Solid Verbal After Hours.
May I, before you answer?
Yes.
May I ask it in a serious voice?
Please.
Sirius XM. Ty, can Brian Kelly get over that hump? Does Brian Kelly have a Clemson and Alabama problem? Can he get Notre Dame from great to elite?
Sure.
Okay.
It's such a loaded question. Right now, I think there is such a gulf between Alabama and Clemson and the rest of college football. I don't know if Notre Dame...
I think Georgia's waiting outside.
Georgia's getting there. They're kind of swimming across the gulf to join the other 2.
Yeah.
But
they're peering in like, what was it, Billy Madison or was it Happy Gilmore peering in at prom?
Oh, I think that would be Billy Madison.
Okay. Georgia's not at prom as a top tier team, but they're looking in longingly.
That's right. They're swimming across the moat, whatever metaphor you'd like to use. Georgia's knocking on that door. Notre Dame finds itself in pretty good company in that next tier of college football. Now, I happen to think they need higher level quarterback play than what they got from Ian Book. Ian Book was a limiting factor. They've done a lot of work, really good work, recruiting along the offensive line. It was tough to go up against Clemson because they had 4 NFL starters. But by and large, doing work in the trenches, both offensive and defensive. I think that's a step forward. We still need a little bit more depth, need to see more depth in the secondary, because I think that's been an Achilles heel for them as well.
Right.
And they need to find a way to get more playmaking from their guys out wide. I could check the boxes here.
They had a good year, though.
We could go for eons about what Notre Dame could tweak to get better, but they made the playoff. They had an undefeated regular season. This is still a good team with a good coach. Bob, you're right. Brian Kelly's 100 times better than Charlie Weiss. I know people dog him all the time, and that's fine. I get it. But there are a few elements of that team that need to be taken up a notch in order for them to really get to that status. Maintaining it, once you get to a Clemson level, if you can get to a Clemson level, maintaining that level is a different story altogether. Very few teams can do that.
Two points / questions. One, if you want us to talk about Notre Dame less, ask about your team. Come on. 2, that was a joke, Ty. I apologize. 2, you should, I want to say this politely, as a fan who roots for a team who's won a playoff game, I feel like maybe I should be the one to jump in.
Oh, please then. Go ahead.
I kind of know what it takes. 2, Ian Book had a good year. Ian Book was one of the top 14, 15 quarterbacks in the country. That's good.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So I don't know if it's all on Ian Book.
I'm not putting it all. I'm not putting it all on Ian Book.
Right.
I'm saying that his skill set was a limiting factor. You can only throw so many 10-yard outs, or pop passes over the middle, or screen passes out wide before a defense catches on. Him throwing deep.
But is there a quarterback outside of, like, this year? Was there a quarterback outside of Tua? Maybe Haskins, Greer. I guess we can start having a Fromm conversation. But beyond that you would have swapped into the Notre Dame lineup and said, okay.
He was good. No, I'm not going to play the game where I would rather have,
No, I'm not saying rather have, but I'm saying realistically, if Will Greer or Jake Fromm or Dwayne Haskins is the Notre Dame quarterback, is that game a game with 2 minutes left?
Any one of those guys.
Are they 20? What was the final score? 30-3?
30-3. Any one of those guys gives Notre Dame more pop on offense because they can throw a better deep ball.
Are they within 4 points with 2 minutes left with any of them?
No, probably not.
And then if you look at, while you were talking, you're not the only one who can do things while the other person.
Yeah, the problem wasn't so much Ian Book as it was trying to stop Trevor Lawrence.
Right. So if you go back, and Ian Book could have for certain done more in that game to keep it close, but I think it was sort of just a foregone conclusion. The 2 best Notre Dame quarterbacks in 2009, Deshaun Kaiser in 2015 and Jimmy Clausen in 2009. Do either of them make a difference?
I think I'd rather have either of those than Ian Book.
Okay. But is it a competitive situation with them?
Again,
I'm wondering if it's a Brian Kelly quarterback.
Probably not, because they were up against a buzzsaw that destroyed Alabama in the second half.
Do you think it's a Brian Kelly quarterback thing? That quarterbacks, are pretty good and have,
well, you could make
teams?
You could make that case, Dan.
And 2009 Clausen was not Brian Kelly, by the way.
Right. No, agreed. But you could make a very strong case that no quarterback under his watch has truly lived up to their potential.
The short answer, after we just gave long answers, is, can Notre Dame win a playoff game? Yeah, when they don't have to play Clemson or Alabama, they can win a playoff game. If they draw Washington, if they draw Michigan State, if they draw Texas, Oklahoma, if it's not Baker Mayfield or Kyler Murray, if they draw whoever, if they draw Florida State or Florida, yes, right now, Clemson and Alabama are nearly impossible, especially with time to prepare, unless you are Clemson or Alabama.
All right. Well, on that note, Dan, speaking of Clemson, speaking of Alabama, Jay with one of my favorite questions of all time.
Ooh, spicy.
At what point does a team win enough games to transition from lovable underdog to a full Bond villain? At what point does Clemson switch over? This is
I love this question.
A terrific question, Jay. Thank you so much for listening.
Let's back up. To you, what is your ideal lovable team? What composes an ideal lovable team in not like they're scrappy and weird to watch at 2 a.m., not like that. What is your I really enjoy everything that's happening with this program and team, specifically on the field, off the field, whatever. What goes into that for Tyler Hildenbrand?
The underdog component is pretty big to me.
Okay.
And I'm thinking back to some of those Boise State teams when Boise was really revving up its program. Yeah. You'll remember Boise wasn't always a dog, but they had that underdog appeal because they were a group of 5 team and they came from Idaho with the blue turf. Yeah. And they ran a lot of trick plays. That to me was very lovable. A lot of people were rooting for Boise, I think, because of that. But the second component of that, even though they had the underdog appeal, when you actually watched them play, some of those Boise teams balled out on defense. It wasn't just smoke and mirrors. They were good. The old Jared Zabransky, those were good teams.
Sure.
That played and won against high-level competition. So I think for me, as a starting point, it's a combination of having that underdog appeal with not feeling like you're a fluke when you actually watch them out there on the field.
But if I had to guess, you didn't watch a lot of Boise games unless it was a huge one.
Oh, you bite your tongue, sir. I watched a lot of Boise State football.
I'm not going to tell you I sat and watched all of Boise, Utah, or BYU if it was a down matchup against one of those teams. Didn't, sit and watch all of Boise, New Mexico, whoever. I would see a score in the middle of the third quarter and oh, wow, it's 35-31. I'm going to watch the rest of this. I didn't sit down and watch a lot of games that didn't have initial appeal unless it was that early, Virginia Tech, Georgia, whoever. And so I think you're right. I think there's a lot of lovability about that team, but I think it's more, to me, what makes the team lovable is, one, I like when teams get over the hump. I like that a lot. And I root for a team, once again, that never got over the national championship winning hump, but they got over the hump and that they finally got to that game after coming up short with Mike Bellotti a couple times. I like when a coach has personality that's not condescending, which is tough because that's sort of built into the DNA for a lot of these guys. And so as it relates to Clemson, did Clemson get over a hump? Yeah, they did. I think we are uniquely qualified to talk about Clemson getting over certain humps
that is
over
correct.
The course of the season.
Yeah.
I think Clemson, there is a likability factor. There's a style of play factor that they check both of those boxes. You got your trick plays. They like the large man plays, Christian Wilkins, where they don't take themselves so seriously, that they're willing to get creative. You have Deshaun Watson, who was a very fun quarterback to watch. And there was something about Clemson at least playing probably 2 to 3 competitive close games every year, that even when they're excellent, we still know that Clemson has down weeks. Whereas the machine that is Alabama football, they would have their Ole Miss week or their Mississippi State week where it would get strange, or a low-scoring LSU game. But where they stand now, to say Alabama football is in a fun, lovable place, it's impressive, it's excellent, but lovable? Probably not.
Yeah, see, there's a lovability factor that I think weighs pretty heavily here. It's like, we talk about this a lot with the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
The NFL feels corporate and soulless compared to college football.
You got to give me some charm.
You got to have some personality. You got to have something to latch onto. Alabama, unless you're already a fan, doesn't really give you that. Whereas Clemson, despite the fact that they've clearly gotten over that proverbial hump, there's still a lot of personality there.
Yeah, you're right.
And I think it makes it harder to declare them in that Bond villain stage.
I'm not going to use lovable. Is Dabo likable, charming to you? Do you swing more on the, putting up a front, full of crap kind of thing with Dabo, or genuinely likable, charming, is what he projects himself to be?
It's the Tebow dilemma.
I have no idea who Tim Tebow is.
I would say that there is still enough personality and still enough authenticity with Dabo.
Okay.
That, yeah, he's lovable, he's likable, there's something to latch on to.
I think I swing that way as well, but it's nothing that really has had, like the dancing in the locker room, great. I don't go either way on that. It's fun. Sure. The interviews, the catchphrases, the bring your own guts, it's fine. That's nothing bad. It's nothing great. The thing that I liked a lot about him, where there's a couple of moments. Remember when he played Steve Spurrier's voicemails to him for a story?
Yeah.
I love that. That was great. Where you're like, oh, okay, this guy is not super self-serious all of the time. This guy just, can let down his hair. It's not a great example because it doesn't have long hair, but I like that there is that element to him. So right now, I think Clemson is not necessarily lovable. I think they're swinging in the machine direction. Trevor Lawrence doesn't have a big personality. Excellent to watch. He doesn't have a bad personality. He's 18, 19 years old. Nobody does. But I don't know the personalities yet for this coming season where I can say, okay, this guy's great. This style is great. The way they're going about this is great. I just want to see what they look like and how they respond to being down 3 or 4 early in the fourth quarter. I want that. That to me is lovable. If you're never in competitive games because you're either terrible or you're just far and away more talented and better coached and more of a machine than everybody else, it's hard for me to love.
Yeah, Clemson right now is James Bond. They're not the villain.
I think, yeah, they are the coolest team in this moment, I would say. Right?
I would agree with that.
Okay. Wow. What a weird path we've taken with this team.
What a weird path indeed.
By the way, if you want to blurb us in the 2019 Clemson Media Guide, we're the coolest team right now.
We're here.
Just even put it on the walls of your facility.
Sure.
Just give us credit. Just
download the episode and we're good.
I can't believe we've come this far with Clemson, but yeah. And here's another factor. And this doesn't tell the whole story. How are teams fans? And it's impossible to paint a fan base with a single paint swipe brush.
Well, hold on. As a Notre Dame fan, I am uniquely qualified to talk about this. And you're right.
Notre Dame fans are not the worst.
They're not the worst. No. But there is a perception among non-Notre Dame fans that they're among the worst. And that the program has a bit of a machine, institutional quality to it. That some of the personality is boiled off.
Notre Dame is not likable. Notre Dame does not do much in the likability department for me.
There are a lot of factors there that make Notre Dame a lot less likable. Now, doesn't affect me, but I get it.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. There's a preachiness to Notre Dame in general that has nothing really to do with the fact that they're a Catholic institution. Hell, there's a preachiness to Dabo Swinney.
There is.
And that's a demerit to me. And I get it. And, you take in the whole story. But Notre Dame is a tough ask because of the institution. The baggage that comes with Notre Dame. And there's a self-importance there that I, on one level, definitely understand. Accomplished a lot over time. But it's a tough ask. And is this a good transition into the, if an alien came down from Earth and who should you tell this alien to root for in each conference?
Well, okay, here you go.
Yeah.
This one from Wes the Runner on Twitter. Hello, Wes.
Yeah.
If you had zero prior attachment to college football, what team would you root for in each conference?
Yep.
So to your question, Dan.
Let's start with the American. Yeah. Pull up the college football standings. Refamiliarize yourself with who's in what conference because it's late March.
If I'm picking from the American right now.
Yeah. Say it.
I guess it's UCF, right?
Niumatalolo.
It's either UCF or Houston.
Yeah. Houston, I don't know. I'm fine with them. They fired their coach real quickly. The Luke Fickell story at Cincinnati is really good. Their chilly aside, Cincinnati's likable.
If we frame this, though, in the context of the alien coming down from outer space, wide-eyed, looking around college football, who to root for, the Dana Holgorsen angle at Houston is pretty damn fun.
Yeah, no, they're going to look fun on offense for sure.
Can we agree on Houston?
I'm going to go Memphis. To me, Memphis is the most likable. They've played a ton of fun games. They play a wide open offense.
All right,
I like their quarterbacks. They've put players in the NFL recently. I'm going Memphis.
ACC.
Okay. ACC, who's the most likable, lovable? Get on this train, and you'll at least enjoy yourself more often than you won't at a minimum.
Well, we just talked about Clemson.
Yeah.
There is
You can't ride with Clemson.
There's a likability with Clemson.
No, that's too bandwagony.
Miami could be fun. We don't know which direction that's going.
Yeah, that's true.
But there's a swagger there. There's a bit of an underdog quality, which is weird for Miami, but it's kind of there.
I like Manny Diaz.
Manny Diaz.
Even with the departure, real quick. The Cuse thing is interesting because I like Dino. I like the style. I like that they weirdly play in a dome. I mean, I understand it. It's Western New York. But the Syracuse thing is they're competitive. They take good teams down to the wire or they beat them. And they are a team who was super down, and now they've become pretty competitive most of the time. I did watch the Notre Dame game, and that was a tough watch.
Sort of is the team that you would pick if you were an alien, isn't it?
I think so.
Right,
it's removed.
Syracuse.
Yeah. Okay. Next, Big 12. I think this is easy.
Big 12. Who you going with?
I go Clones. I don't think twice.
Yeah,
they had a quarterback who became an All-American linebacker. They were terrible or just maddeningly inconsistent. They take down giants. They play a fun style. At least defensively, they switched over to that dime a couple years ago.
I'm on board.
That was pretty difficult. Big 12 has a lot of pretty likable teams, fun teams to get behind. You throw out Oklahoma and Texas just because then you're just jumping on the big boys.
It's got to be Iowa State.
I think it's Iowa State. TCU's kind of close for me, but I know you have too much in your past with TCU.
Big 10 is Purdue.
I'm scanning. Wisconsin's real fun.
If you're going to pick Iowa State, you got to pick Purdue.
I like Purdue, and I like the strides that they've taken. I like the big upset from last year. But if I'm telling somebody to get on board with the culture and the experience of being a fan of this team,
you just pick Syracuse.
I know. But right now, as it stands right now, they are enjoyable. Purdue beats Ohio State, and then they lose to three somebodies in a dumb way.
I don't know.
They're a Paul Abdul team.
I think
two
it's
steps
Purdue.
forward, one step back.
It's Purdue.
Okay, so agree to disagree.
Conference USA, I'm going to say North Texas.
Yeah, it's a good answer.
North Texas.
I do like the North Texas answer.
We won't count Independence.
You can get in real early with Charlotte right now.
Mid-American Conference, or the MAC as it's known.
Root for this team. They're likable. They're fun. They're an enjoyable watch. You're not jumping on a bandwagon. You're not killing yourself. The turnaround that Eastern's had these past few years makes it interesting for me.
As well as Buffalo.
I think Buffalo's my answer. And yes, they won their division last year and they've recruited well. But the fact that their coach comes over from Wisconsin Whitewater.
That's right.
And immediately transforms a super down program. I think Buffalo's a good answer. We're sticking with, Western New York?
Yeah.
Great.
Boise State is my Mountain West team. I know it's cliche, but I just waxed poetic about how I loved Boise State. Back in the days of Jared Zabransky, I have to go with the Broncos.
Utah State would have been interesting with them keeping their coach, but going back to Gary Anderson, I don't know about that. Hawaii, I like Rolovich. I'm fine with it. I think Fresno State and what Jeff Tedford has done. I've always liked the San Joaquin Valley, Central California. Fresno's my pick.
Let's go to the Pac-12 here.
And I have a fondness for Pat Hill.
Yeah. Okay.
Pac-12?
Pac-12, I feel like because I went Houston, and because we also talked about the alien quality of Syracuse, Washington State is a pretty strong selection here.
Washington State's not bad. You have a ceiling, but you're a fun watch. You are in every game.
Right.
You should be, except perhaps the Apple Cup. Wazoo's a very good answer. I think Arizona State's also a good answer.
Buying into that Herm mentality, aren't you?
I don't know if it's because of Herm. I like that there is potential at Arizona State for winning the South, especially with some UCLA and USC down. I like everything about the greater Phoenix, Tempe, Scottsdale, that whole area. So if I'm picking one, it's probably Wazoo. And if after year one, Mel Tucker has this team at 7-5, 8-4, I love Colorado. I just can't in late March 2019. But Colorado would be my answer, probably. I'd love to be a decent Colorado fan.
And finally, who is the most, I guess not finally, we've got one other one.
Yeah.
Who is the most exciting team if you're an alien in the SEC?
In the SEC, get on board now. You're going to have a good time rooting for them. You're not jumping on a bandwagon. Oh, God, this is rough.
I think it might be Florida.
I'll take Mississippi State. I'll ride with Joe Moorhead.
Okay.
I know it's...
I was going to say Florida or Mississippi State.
I don't know if you got the clanger. You have, Florida's not bad, but again, you're talking about a team that's won 2 national championships in the last, little over a decade. As it stands now, I wouldn't mind, God, it is weird to say it, but Mississippi State, for me, with the creativity of Joe Moorhead, with the unique nature of fandom in Starkville, I wouldn't hate that situation if they continue their trajectory of winning 8-9 games. If they remain a comfortable bowl team, I would love to be on board.
I think the argument against Mississippi State, quite frankly, is that Joe Moorhead may not be there
Fair.
5 years from now.
It's hard to keep top guys.
Whereas I think Dan Mullen will be at Florida.
It's totally reasonable.
And finally, the Sun Belt, Dan.
Yeah.
You're going to go App State. Your boy left. You're going to go App State. We had turnover at App State. Then we have turnover at Troy with Neil Brown leaving.
Sure. Yeah. I think I like Eli Drinkwitz. I don't know a lot about him at App State. Georgia Southern is scratching an itch for me. I've liked Blake. The Blake Anderson thing at Arkansas State has also been a secretly pretty fun watch. Couldn't tell you I'm an expert on all things Blake Anderson, but the job he's done with the Red Wolves.
Let's go Red Wolves. Let's pick Red Wolves.
I think I might go Arkansas State, maybe Georgia Southern.
All right. So we disagree on Houston or Memphis. We disagree on Boise or Fresno, on Wazoo or Colorado, although you kind of agreed with Wazoo.
Yeah, I
Florida
understand the Wazoo thing
or Mississippi State. But otherwise, we sort of agree on Cuse, Iowa State, Purdue, North Texas, Buffalo, and Arkansas State.
Yes, correct.
All right, Dan, before we go any further, what is your motto in life?
You're only as comfortable as your feet, Ty.
That is right, sir.
I'm no joke wearing the product that you're about to talk about as we speak.
I don't know how often people out there talk about their socks, Dan.
It should be a lot more.
If you're like we used to be, maybe you didn't talk about it a whole lot. But then we discovered Bombas. Bombas has been a sponsor of the show for eons now. Eons. One of our earliest sponsors. And we have had the good fortune of wearing Bombas socks. I'm actually wearing mine right now.
Wow.
And
company men.
Believe you me, I'm not just making that up. They are the most comfortable socks in the history of feet, as they like to say. They're made of super soft, natural cotton. Every pair comes with arch support, a seamless toe, a cushioned footbed that's comfortable but not too thick. They've got a bunch of different colors, patterns, lengths, styles, you name it. They look great at the gym. I wear them to the office. Not ashamed to admit that.
That's fine. You should.
They're very comfortable to travel out of town with. Whatever the situation, they've got you covered. They are what feet daydream about. Oh. They've got me saying that here on the script, but I'm telling you, if feet could daydream, it would not surprise me. Best of all, every time you buy a pair, Bombas is going to donate a pair to somebody in need, which is a really cool thing.
Hell yeah.
I cannot emphasize this enough. Buy yourself a pair of Bombas socks at bombas.com/solid today, and you're going to get 20% off your very first purchase. It's Bombas, bombas.com/solid. You're going to get 20% off. One more time, bombas.com, bombas.com/solid, the most comfortable socks in the history of feet, Dan.
You're going to look into your sock drawer and say to yourself, you know what? These shouldn't be here anymore. These need to be replaced. But you might not have that solution in your head. And so they just stay in your drawer. They just stay there and stay there and stay there. Check your text messages, Ty. What do you see?
You know what? I don't have my phone on me. First time ever.
Okay. So when you go check your messages after the show. You will see I sent you a picture of my feet because I know you're into that.
Okay.
And they are wearing Bombas socks. I gave you proof.
Wow.
You can check the timestamp. It all adds up.
There you go.
So do it. Bombas. Bombas.
Do we want to go to this question from Ted at the very top of the doc?
Yeah, let's go to Ted momentarily. I want to I'll ask you this question, then I'll try my best to answer it as well, from Patrick. Came to the inbox, the Jersey Mike's Eat Thoroughly inbox. That's the best I could do. Patrick wants to say, hi guys, big fan of the podcast. Yes. I had a question for your upcoming Q&A show. Several times I've heard Dan use the term, quote, infrastructure when describing either problems deep within a program or a new coach's from the ground up rebuild for a program or of a program. What does that term mean to you, Ty? What kinds of things are you referring to that might not be obvious to the casual fan? I gather it goes beyond player evaluation and on-field coaching staff. What else is involved? What other personnel? Is it buildings, facilities, aspects of the program like academic support? If you're talking about the bones of the program, what does that skeleton look like?
Well,
he hit on a number of things.
Yeah, he covered a lot of things in his question. On a very fundamental level, to me, it is commitment to the program. And oftentimes, commitment to a program translates to dollars.
Definitely.
What kind of financial commitment is an institution willing to put forth to better their football program? We've got very obvious examples like Texas. We've got very obvious examples like Georgia, like Clemson, schools that have very notably put forth a pretty large commitment to the football program. A lot of D1 schools fall into that category, but it starts there. And oftentimes it trickles down into actual infrastructure, things that we might talk about, such as facilities, using the Clemson example.
No, I think all of that is right. I would say if I had to boil it down to what does infrastructure mean to you? It is from the top down, there's going to be a vision, whether it's athletic director, whether it's president of the school, whether it's chancellor, all the way down. And then obviously to the head coach and how empowered the head coach is to both have a solid, good vision, a winning vision, a sensical vision, and how well he is supported, like you mentioned, in every facet of making players want to be there, want to commit to the team, whether it's academics, whether it's the coach is very clear to his assistants about what he expects, both as as for player development, as for recruiting, as for academics, as for staying on this player about this, as for hiring a strength coach and say, this is what I want out of them, X, Y, and Z. This is how we are going to discipline. This is how we are going to communicate with our players about what we're doing, why we're doing it. This is how we're going to meet. This is when we're going to meet. This is how we're going to practice. This is why we're practicing this way. This is... And our schedule on Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, what is the actual organization? Does everybody understand what is expected of them? And how well is that supplied for the players, whether it's nutrition, academics, facilities, whatever? It's a commitment to the vision. And when we had Andy Staples on to talk about I think Dabo Swinney. We talked about Dabo Swinney a while back and whether or not he was buying into this. And it was like, why don't coaches leave Clemson? They don't leave Clemson because they have a good life. They get paid. Their families are welcomed at like family night, not to talk about how cool Clemson is once again. But there is a clear infrastructure where everybody understands what the program is and is trying to do. And when you look at programs that lose a lot, it can be money. It can be lack of vision. It can be lack of communication. And it can be lack of support for all of the above. And oftentimes it is.
Yeah.
And so it's bad hiring, it is bad communication, and it is trying to cut corners because of, okay, it's going to cost too much, or, something went wrong along the chain. And if a program has that solid chain, and it's become harder and harder to because there is such a crazy arms race with everything, then they are most likely going to be not only a consistent bowl team, but they're going to beat more good teams than not. And to me, that is what infrastructure is. And I will take at least a 4 on this infrastructure AP test.
I would echo your sentiment around vision. The budget can buy you the tools that you need to put together a successful program. You need the vision to tie it all together. Case in point, Texas has a huge budget. You could argue they haven't had that vision. or at least the vision wasn't successful.
Right. A good vision. Yeah.
A good vision. I would also argue that Tom Herman's got them going in a good direction, that we're going to start seeing a better return on that investment in the years to come.
Mm-hmm.
But you contrast a school like a Texas with a school like an Ohio State, with a school like a Clemson, where clearly the commitment is there and the vision is also there, or has been there, leading that program to new heights.
And you can't talk about Tom Herman tearing down and restarting the infrastructure at Texas without a clip of him struggling with a sledgehammer.
That's right.
Trying to reset the infrastructure, literally.
That's right.
In the locker room. So
very good question.
There is
Thank
that
you.
commitment. Yeah. Next, we have Ted, right?
Ted says, you guys often answer questions from the same folks.
Mm-hmm.
I assume unknowingly. For instance, this week, the Audible podcast and Podcast Ain't Played Nobody both addressed a question on Tennessee and Nebraska being sleeping giants.
Mm-hmm.
In past episodes, the Solid Verbal and Podcast Ain't Played Nobody both answered questions from regular submitters, which leads me to ask, do you not have the time or ability to listen to each other's podcasts? Despite knowing each other and being friendly from what I observe, my question, either for here or on your respective shows, is do you listen to other podcasts, college football podcasts? And if so, even if it is taboo to say in fear that you drive away listeners, which ones? So there's a lot to unpack here. I would also add that Ted did not just send this email to us, he also addressed it to our friends over at Podcast Ain't Played Nobody, as well as the Audible, Dan. So a lot here. Where do you want to start?
With honesty, Ty, I guess. I have, and I still do sometimes, but I do far less than I used to. And it's not, I like a lot. I like Bill C. and Godfrey and Stu and Bruce. Chip Patterson does a wonderful podcast for CBS. My problem is, one, I have less time. Two, I get to listen to my favorite college football podcast with better audio than anybody else, and that's this one. And three, I'm a comedy nerd. As an unfunny person, I say this. And I read a lot of interviews with comedians and comedic actors and writers and stuff like that. And there's something that a lot of them say, that they don't watch a lot of comedies. They really like dramas or thrillers or horror movies or whatever, because they don't want to feel bad about their own show. They don't want jokes, through osmosis or whatever, creeping into their brain. And I find myself agreeing that I don't want Godfrey's opinion about something or Bruce's opinion about something changing how I feel about something organically, because he planted a seed. One of them planted a seed in me. I think there's a ton of use in other college football podcasts for whatever you're into about college football. But I just like listening to other things. College football is how I spend so much of my time professionally, that I like going in a complete different direction. I love NBA podcasts. I will recommend Open Floor with our friends Ben Golliver and Andrew Sharp until I'm blue in the face. But for college football, that's not where I go generally podcast-wise.
I'm with you.
I like the Solid Verbal.
I'm with you.
Mm-hmm.
I too prefer the Solid Verbal. I dabble with other shows, and not just the two that are on this list. I like to dabble with college football shows just to see what people are doing.
Do you like sending me snarky text messages about their audio quality?
Sometimes I do that.
Sometimes, yeah.
But I do like to dabble, and I like to see what other people are doing, just from a raw idea standpoint.
Sure.
I always feel, if I'm being honest, like I don't have the kind of time that I need to be fully up to speed with the information the way others are. And that's because I have the mysterious day job.
Right.
You just run out of time. If I'm listening to other shows, it is generally not about college football, and it is generally not even about sports.
Do you want to now, before you go on, do you want to play the Solid Verbal After Hours music? So anybody who's done, who only wants to hear the college football
we can play
portion
the
of this
After
show?
Hours music, yeah.
And we're back.
There you go. Yeah. No.
Yeah.
You are free to go if you were here for college football.
Yeah. Take off. Thanks for the download. Thanks for listening. We treasure and appreciate you.
Thank you.
Give me your favorite space show. How's Neil deGrasse Tyson's?
Neil deGrasse Tyson
He's got a huge podcast, right? Is that still
has a
going?
huge podcast.
Yeah.
I listened to that one for a while. That was sort of my go-to.
Okay.
It's not even space-based shows. It's just anything that pertains to outer space I'll listen to.
So what are you most excited space-wise when a new episode goes up?
If you could give me anything on space travel, if you could give me anything on like aliens, if you can give me anything in that vein, I'll pump it right into the vein, man.
Black holes, wormholes.
Oh, yeah, let's do it.
Antimatter.
Let's do it.
Okay, fair. I like Malcolm Gladwell's podcast a good deal. Revisionist History.
Yeah,
I think he does a good job with that. I like I don't love media criticism, and I try to stay away from a lot of media navel gazing. But our pal Jimmy Traina does a nice job at SI.
Oh yeah,
as well.
Jimmy. Sure.
I really enjoyed the startup podcast, Gimlet, who now they're all wearing gold chains.
That's right.
Hooray, podcast money. I find podcasts on YouTube more than I ever did. There's like a group of comedians in LA, and I don't watch them all that much, but I find Tom Segura to be really funny. And so I found his podcast, Your Mom's House, that he does with his wife, Christina Pajitsky. They're both comedians. They're great. If chemistry is the secret sauce, a married couple, if they can pull it off, is great. So I really like Your Mom's House. It's not safe for work. And I don't agree with everything, but they go into places that are just wonderful. Who else do I like in terms of podcasting?
I like, obviously, My Brother and Me. We've talked about them.
Love my Bim Bam. Yep.
Until we're, blue in the face. We've talked about them. Would love to go to a live show if they ever come up. In
it's
this
a great
part
time.
of the world again. I started listening to fantasy baseball podcasts because it's that time of year.
Again?
Yeah.
Are you in a league?
I'm in many leagues, Dan. I'm in 3 leagues. It's too many. I shouldn't be in 3 leagues.
What's the best fantasy baseball podcast?
The best one that I found is on CBS Sports.
Who does it?
Adam Azer and some of the other guys that write for CBS.
How long is it? Is it daily?
I think it's daily. I haven't listened long enough to know, but it's questionable audio quality at times, but really good information, which is really the only time I'm willing to make that trade-off. But good chemistry, great information. That has sort of been my go-to on the fantasy side.
Have you listened to Business Wars?
On occasion.
It's good. It's good.
Not bad,
Wondery
right?
Network does it.
Yeah.
Business Wars, highly recommend. They just hey, it's Monster Energy versus Red Bull.
Did you listen
Tupac versus Biggie.
Did you listen to Dr. Death, speaking of Wondery?
I have not, but I've heard wonderful things.
Yeah, I listened to that one. They did a good job with that.
Yeah, I think they're the same network. They do Dirty John as well, right?
Yep. Listen to that one too. Good stuff.
That's Jody with an I is currently listening to the Theranos.
Okay.
What's her name? Elizabeth Holmes.
Yeah.
I haven't watched the HBO documentary about Elizabeth Holmes and Theranos yet, but I've listened to the podcast and I watched the ABC 2020 special.
Yeah.
It rules.
Okay.
It's so good. This whole thing. I don't know why I appreciate a good fraud story.
Yeah.
Oh, is it good?
It's the Fire Festival of technology, essentially.
Indeed it is, Ty. Indeed it is. I'm trying to think if there's any other. You mentioned Kate likes was it Dax Shepard's show?
Dax Shepard, armchair expert. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what you said. I haven't listened yet, but apparently it's good. So yeah, those are some.
All right. Well, write in. Give us suggestions. Let's go to...
give us suggestions. We're open to everything.
Jonathan. I love this question from Jonathan. Let's imagine you had the opportunity to guarantee your team a spot in the college football playoff next season.
Oh, man. I know where we're going.
But in order to do so, you have to choose between one of the below options. 1, with no control or advanced notice on your end, one day each month, you will go through an entire day with a wedgie.
Uh-huh.
A wedgie that is visible to all and cannot be picked or adjusted.
So your underwear is coming out of your pants. Everybody sees it, and in an aggressive and dramatic way, and you can do nothing to change it.
Or perhaps you're at your mysterious day job, and it's such a wedgie that you can kind of see it from the outside, not just the underpants, but maybe your khakis just wedged up in there. Or 2, one day during the year, you will be victim of a public Melvin, aka atomic wedgie. It can be at any moment of the day, in any setting, a job interview, a church service, etc.
Right.
And again, you have no advanced notice. Which do you choose, Dan? To me, this is sort of a no-brainer.
Is an atomic wedgie still a thing without wearing your traditional boxer shorts or tidy whities? Can it be still a thing with boxer briefs, the way they're structured? I'm not sure. I'm old and washed.
I believe it could be.
It probably is.
I was
But
having a
it's
hard
just a different
time
layout.
distinguishing between just a regular wedgie and an atomic.
Atomic goes shoulders or head. You pull it up way, way up.
Okay.
You're stretching the bands
Right.
to sort of give yourself, or give, not yourself, but the other person, like a cornholio with said underpants.
Right. I think I'd go atomic wedgie.
I think you have to go atomic wedgie.
One day during the year. It just says one day
Day of pain.
versus one day each month where you have to go through a full day. Like, that's something the CIA does to get information out of people.
Well, I mean, we've both had our teams in the playoff, right?
Sure.
So this is not you as a North Carolina State fan, me as a Cal fan,
Right.
where like it really hasn't been close and saying, oh man, what I would do.
For me, the playoff game sort of was the atomic wedgie.
Yeah, that's a pretty clear concept. I take the one day and it's a day, it's more violent, but here's the other thing. I am never in a place. So I work for a number of companies now, but I'm never really in a place where I would be embarrassed about much. I'm either working from my apartment or I now work at an office, but it's like a co-working space type of office. And if you were to say, hey, do you know anybody? What are their names? I would tell you, nope, and couldn't tell you.
Yeah.
So the embarrassment factor for me is pretty low. So I would take the one day that's wild. I would probably not show up the next day, and the day after that, be like, are you maybe not, maybe, I don't remember. And that would be that.
See, but once you get to our ripe old age, Dan,
Right.
the wedgie stops being a funny thing. Like, if somebody came and pulled my underwear up to my shoulders unannounced, if
Yeah.
some guys with trench coats got out of a van
Right.
and just did this to me, in most places that I think I'd find myself, people would be alarmed by that. I
Right.
wouldn't even need to feel embarrassed. People would feel sorry for me.
Do you remember the time we're roughly the same age, in popular TV shows and cartoons where pantsing was a thing?
Oh, yeah.
And not only would it be a pantsing, it would reveal hilarious heart boxer shorts.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
That
But-
was a thing, across many shows.
So let's do this.
Yeah.
Wedgie versus pantsing, which is
Yeah.
worse?
It's definitely wedgie. There's no pain in pantsing. You're like, oh, you pulled out my pants, and yep, it is
Considering
revealed
all
that I'm wearing
factors.
black boxer briefs.
All factors,
well,
you're saying wedgie's worse.
yeah, but I mean, try to answer this question if you're 14.
Okay. Wedgie versus the feared tapper.
Tapper's rough, the AKA the Bangkok.
I went probably 2 years of my adolescent life in constant fear of the tapper.
What, one specific person doing it, or that just became the culture?
It was
of
just
Northampton High School?
just the culture. Yeah.
Oh, infrastructure at Northampton High School.
Yeah.
A lot to be desired.
Lack of
No
institutional control.
vision. Nope, zero.
What else do we got here? Tapper versus falling asleep and having someone draw on your face.
Oh man, in high school, middle school, probably Tapper's over quickly. You don't, if you're not washing that off, you might be known as like, hey, you have the butt cheeks. You're Sharpie butt cheek guy, right? For like 3 straight years. So yeah, probably Tapper.
Tapper versus dead leg.
Oh God, I got so many dead legs in high school.
Yeah.
I know people are just shocked to hear this. That was the big thing at my school. It was dead legs and dead arms.
Yeah.
And it was the freaking worst.
Where do you want to go next?
All right. I asked people to ask us about haircuts. How much
Yeah.
you pay for your haircut?
$20 plus tip.
Okay, I pay $31.
Paying
And I
those
think
big
it's
city
probably.
prices.
I mean, you adjust for New York, but how much do you tip on 20?
About 20%.
So you're throwing in $4
Usually, yeah.
Yeah, I do 5, 6, 7, depending on how happy I am with it. I think that's pretty nice.
Where's the question about timing a haircut?
Oh, okay. Yeah. So the question was, what is the timing like of a haircut? Like, let's say you have a graduation, you have a wedding, you're going on TV, you're appearing on camera for whatever reason, you are, going on a first date that you know about a week or two ahead, and you know you need a haircut and you want to look good. How far in advance do you get that haircut that your hair looks optimal? To I guess both look great, recover from a bad haircut or a bad part of your haircut.
You need to have that recovery built in
and look like your truest self. Because I did a week before my wedding, and I should have done 2.
Gotta go week and a half.
Yeah, I think the halfway
week and a half for me is right in the sweet spot. But this, by the way, this might be my favorite question we received all year so far from Todd.
What's the worst haircut you've received?
When I was younger, I had a bowl cut that I was very proud of.
Was it
and
from an actual hair cuttery, or was it from a family member?
No, it was from a licensed hair cutter person.
Where was it given?
It was given at the old place I used to go to get my hair cut.
Okay, I was really hoping it was given at a burger place.
But here, to your point, the worst haircut I got was when I first started going to this place. It was going to a new place after the old woman who cut my hair retired from cutting hair.
Yep.
And I walked into this joint and I had a bowl cut I was very proud of.
Mm-hmm.
And she proceeded to cut it off.
No.
And I was crestfallen, Dan.
Have you ever gotten a haircut that was so bad where you look at it and you're like, just buzz it all?
I've never had that.
You've never buzzed your hair?
No, but that was probably the closest I've ever been.
I've done that. My worst haircut, when I moved to New York, I made the mistake of going to a place that it's just like, oh, it has good Yelp reviews.
Yeah.
And the person cutting my hair, I could not communicate with them in the way that I wanted to about what I wanted. And I ended up with a pretty significant, high top fade. It was bad enough that, you never really notice when somebody gets a bad haircut unless it's a really bad haircut.
That's right.
Unless it's noticeably and dramatically different than a person's normal look. And I remember I went to a backyard cookout, barbecue, whatever. I don't care about the nomenclature. And my friend Lindsay, who, by the way, tied to the Solid Verbal, did the voice for our first, was it the Fantasy Things? Who did she do the voice for?
No.
It wasn't Fantasy Things.
Yeah, I forget what it was.
Yeah,
maybe it was Fantasy. I forget. But she did do a voiceover for us. Yeah, maybe.
She looked at me, and I thought I looked different, but not dramatically different. And she looked at me, and she started laughing hysterically. And she said, "Who did you hurt to have this done to you? Who held you down against your will and tortured your scalp?" It was really bad. It was very bad. I wore hats for a couple weeks.
Yeah. Week and a half, though.
You get what you pay for.
Week and a half.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's go to this one.
Well, we can ask, Sean asked a question like that because we were talking about fantasy things.
Yeah, please.
Name your top 5 Solid Verbal episodes. Let's pat ourselves on the back. What are you most proud of, either recently or in the history of the show?
I am very proud of, I can't rank them
No.
from 1 to 5, but the history of the Solid Verbal was a favorite.
Time.
Go back.
In the history of the Solid Verbal, what's your favorite? The show where we talked about the history.
I love that episode.
It was fun.
It was a fun one. I love that episode, History of. I really enjoyed the live fantasy things show that we did in Chicago.
That was wonderful. Shout out Nate Stanley. Yeah.
This past August. That was a good one for me.
Mm-hmm.
I really enjoyed, speaking of the Serial and S-Town mold of podcasting, I really enjoyed the recruiting show that we did.
Yes, absolutely. With Lindsay Theory and Brandon Huffman. We had the dad of a blue chipper on. Yeah.
Really enjoyed doing that show.
Bud Elliott was on that. Yep.
What else?
I loved the Verbies from Radio City Musical Hall.
Oh, that was so good.
I thought that was a revelation.
That's right. That was our first
really enjoyed
foray into the world of post-production.
Yes. I thought that was a tremendous show. I thought the emo show with Bill Barnwell was exceptionally fun. My favorite shows are the ones that aren't necessarily themed, but sometimes we will randomly just hit a groove with the show in a week 7 recap show or a week 11 preview show where I catch you shot out of a cannon. I feel good, and we are just Stockton and Stockton. We're just passing the ball back and forth, and nobody's really taking good shots. But we're running the two-man weave in a fun way. Those are generally my favorites. But in terms of theme shows, those are up. I love the Secret Garbage Show.
Oh, yeah, right.
The Secret Garbage Show, the Secret Garbage bracket was quite fun. I remember exactly where I was when we recorded it, which is a good sign. So we are going to, we have a lot of time before the season starts.
Oh, yeah.
So we're going to be doing more fun shows. I thought last year's show, was it last year? I believe it was last year, where I did it solo. And believe me, it was not my favorite show because of me, one of my favorites. But when we had Crispy Brown on to talk about communication,
yeah.
In terms of recent shows, like where you really got nerdy information, that was one of my favorites to just be involved in, not to actually host.
All right, let's close it out with this one.
Yeah,
unless you've got a bunch more you want to get to. This one,
I got a bunch.
Okay,
but we'll do it quickly.
Let me close out my portion of this with this question. Got any favorite moments from the old NCAA video game series? A favorite game you played?
Yeah.
Building a Bama crushing powerhouse out of a lowly G5 team, et cetera, et cetera. I had a situation. I found a glitch back in the day.
Yeah.
I was in college. I want to say it was my sophomore or junior year. And I did the thing that I'm sure a lot of guys did in college. We started a group dynasty. Everyone picked their team. You would trade off and on with the controller, recruiting your guys, hand it off to someone else and move on. Sometimes you'd be up till 3 a.m. You know how it is back in the day, Dan. I picked Arizona State.
Uh-huh.
Because I think there was a limit on the number of stars your program could have. Maybe they were like a 3-star, a 2-star at the time. I don't remember.
Mm-hmm.
But I found a glitch. I didn't like most of my players.
You're a big glitch finder. That's low key what defines you. You're about finding life's glitches and exploiting them.
I sort of am.
Yeah.
Now that you mention it.
Yeah.
I found a glitch, and I didn't mean to. But the glitch was that if you cut too many players, you could sort of implode a program.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't like most of my team, and I cut more than I had to. What was the number? 54, 55 you had to get down to?
Yeah.
I took my team all the way down to about 36.
Oh, my God.
And I never really recovered from that, Dan.
Uh-huh.
Never really recovered from that. And I found myself in a situation where I had essentially broken the game. That, to me, was probably my favorite moment. Not because
your own Donkey Kong kill screen.
Exactly. Not because I had any great accomplishment on the field, but because I had done something that nobody else there could have ever envisioned, and I literally broke the team.
The only real, I don't have any fond memories about playing it by myself or playing it online against people. It's fine. It's fun. In college, with the original Ty, shout out Mike, who was my co-host on the college radio show Morningwood at the University of Oregon, we would play all the time. And he liked, after he would intercept a ball, he would say, interception special. Like he had a secret play that couldn't help but have an interception as a result of the play. And I caught on to it, and it was like he just would call it quarters coverage or something like that. He would basically call whatever play had the most colorful circles in the defensive backfield.
Sure.
And I would just run down his throat, and then he effectively stopped saying interception special after saying it for like a year. And it angered him to such a crazy degree. Not a huge football fan, but he thought he had stumbled upon his own personal glitch.
That's right.
And then I just murdered him. The other thing is it was 2004. So it would have been NCAA 2004. So the year is 2003. It was a simpler time, Ty. USC was unbeatable. And if you would call like a wide receiver screen followed up by either a slant or like a go route with not Mike Williams, but Mike Williams,
all right.
It was just unbeatable. And that was, again, against Mike, the non-interception special. And it just tortured him. It was wonderful.
Back in about maybe 2006, 2007, I had a group dynasty, an online dynasty type of setup. And my team, I think, was Penn State at the time. I was playing with about 6 or 7 other guys.
Mm-hmm.
I recruited Leon Johnson, a dual threat quarterback.
Classic.
Who was a tank, a Tebow build.
Yeah.
And he was virtually unstoppable. That singular moment, that recruit changed the history of my program forever.
Leon Johnson. You still remember his fake name?
I still remember his fake name to this day.
What was the name of? It was Jeremy Liggins-esque. Remember Jeremy Liggins?
I do.
He was pushing three bills and playing quarterback, and I think he was a JC and then went to Ole Miss. Yeah, so you had the proto Jeremy Liggins.
I did.
You had proto Jeremy Liggins.
I still remember his name and think about him fondly.
Have you ever played in a video game tournament?
No.
Really? That's a shocking answer.
Not an official tournament, but...
You've never gone to like an arcade or a baseball card store? Or
never have.
I have. I thought I was amazing at Tecmo Super Bowl. I just beat up the computer all day, every day. Beat up my brothers all day, every day. I went to, it was like a comic card store. They set up a bunch of TVs just in my neighborhood, just in the San Fernando Valley, and played in a Tecmo Super Bowl tournament. They wiped the floor with me. I was the mop. I got killed so thoroughly every time. There was like a loser's bracket. Nope, gone. That humbled me, Ty. Yeah. Also played in a Magic the Gathering tournament there.
Okay, sure.
How about that?
Yeah.
Also didn't fare super well.
Okay.
But you know what? You got to try. You got to, shoot or shoot. That's what I did.
Let's go rapid fire. You got like two more?
Rapid fire.
3
Solid
more?
Verbal After Hours. I got a few of these. Okay. This one I really liked. Well, hold on. I got a couple. Let's rapid fire. We got one about snaps versus buttons for baby like onesies and outfits.
Okay.
I'm going to take you one step further. Magnets. They're a thing. They have magnetic baby onesies where you just basically get the two sides of the top close and they just snap shut. Eventually, I'm going to have to teach the solid baby how to button up and snap up a shirt or whatever.
Right.
But right now, it's magic. What is the random / best / TV show, movie, whatever that Dan has watched while up at odd hours with the new baby? I watch a lot of YouTube on my TV. I watch food shows. Munchies does a really good job. Bon Appetit does a great job. There's a show called It's Alive with Brad Leone. It's amazing. Binging with Babish. He does a great job. I watch food shows. The most random, though, those all food shows, food video. That seems obvious for me to answer with, and just everybody knows that exists. I had a stretch where I was up pretty consistently at like 3, 4 a.m. feeding and soothing, whatever. And I stumbled on... Conservatively, it's an hour and a half. It might be an hour 40. Essentially, it's a documentary that... Do you know what Ernie Ball is?
No, I have no idea.
Ernie Ball is a company that makes guitar strings.
Okay.
Ernie Ball did a documentary, and I assume they've done a bunch of these with a bunch of different guitar players and musicians and stuff. They did a documentary with and about, and it's all first person, so he participated, with Tom DeLonge,
Okay.
Blink-182. And this is relatively recently, long after he left Blink. And it was about the entire Blink history with photos and videos and everything like that and stories. And then talking about the breakup, essentially. I know Blink still exists with Matt Skiba, but it got pretty heavy. And then he went into like his new gig, the new company he started, basically trying to uncover CIA secrets about aliens.
Okay.
It goes completely off kilter, and this was over the course of whatever it is, 4, 5, 6 feedings, where I'm just nerding out watching a Tom DeLonge documentary on YouTube. Those are the depths that you will go to just like play with your brain just enough to stay awake, but also, okay, yes, you're dealing with the bottle, cool. So I think that's the most random thing. I also watch a lot of photography, like really nerdy photography videos. Like Jody with and I will walk into the room and I'm watching a Lightroom tutorial on our TV about how to play with a tone curve.
That's the good stuff.
I know what you're thinking. It's really good that you found somebody to marry and to deal with your dumbness. So that's probably, in terms of shows, Sex Education on Netflix, really, really good. British, Gillian Anderson, sort of John Hughes-ish. Dating Around, also on Netflix. And I also enjoyed the Mrs. Maisel show. That was good.
Great British baking show over here.
Oh, Great British Bake Off baking show.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
All right. Give me one more. One or two more good ones. Yeah.
Let's do a 3-hour show. Let's Joe Rogan this. Okay. Somebody asked about the sous vide movement. I know you're pro.
I'm in.
Somebody asked us about cast iron versus stainless steel. I know you're all in on that beautiful sear of cast iron.
All in on cast iron. Yeah.
Let's finish here. We got a number of good questions. Third dates, I don't think we've quite gotten to. Just ask a lot of questions. You'll get to a third date. Don't be creepy. You'll get to a third date. And don't expect anything on any date. Just let the game come to you, like a good game manager.
That's right.
Let the game come to you. You just got to read and react. The last question comes to us from, I think, is it Gary? No, excuse me, Justin. Gary did ask a question about limited space child rearing in big cities. It's rough. Go outside as often as you can. That's my answer to Gary. Justin says, I'm diabetic. So my choices for pigging out on Saturdays are generally limited, which means carbohydrates, I assume, sugars, breads, stuff like that, which are key to a lot of sauces and vehicles. Wings, however, are always available and can fit in my diet. What do you think are the best rubs or sauces to add to wings? I tend to gravitate to jerk glazes or sauces for mine. Love a good jerk.
Yeah.
That's what the phrasing. I understand.
I'm into the rubs, man.
Rubbing and jerking time.
That's right. That's what we're talking about here.
What is
doing the
your
Bob Kraft show?
What is your seasoning choice?
First and foremost,
With wings.
you got to go with the flats. You got to order the flats. Now, I didn't know until last summer that I could do this.
Yeah, this is all pretty new to me as well.
And I think it's only the places that are, a little bit more popular with the wing eating crowd.
Right.
That know how to handle this. But if you go and ask for the flats as opposed to the drumsticks.
Would you go to a butcher? Do you go to a...
No. I'm talking I go to the restaurant and order flats.
Oh, okay. But what about... But I'm saying if you prefer the rub, what is the rub that you like on the
rub?
flats?
So first and foremost, you need the flats.
Yeah, that's true. Surface area.
But secondly, I prefer a good Old Bay rub.
Ooh, I like that answer.
Prefer a good Old Bay rub.
Celery salt?
Yeah. A little bit of an Old Bay rub.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't quite have the messy quality that you get from any of the sauces, but also gives you enough of that kick. You get enough of that crispiness that comes with the wing if it's been done correctly.
Mm-hmm.
For me, it's the flats with a combination of an Old Bay rub, Dan.
Sure. I think it's a great answer. You can go Asian without the honey or brown sugar element and do like a soy garlic ginger. Sort of, I don't know if you marinate, but I think you can make a sauce out of that if you look that up. Lemon pepper, a classic. I don't know if you've watched Atlanta at all.
I have
or know about like J.R. Cricket's, the famous wing place in Atlanta.
Yep.
But there's lemon pepper and there's lemon pepper wet. I'm, the worst person to be the one describing it and talking about it. But lemon pepper is delicious as a combination, as a rub. And you can add lemon pepper seasoning to like a buffalo sauce. That adds a nice little twist. I would say aside from wings specifically, if you're looking for ways to eat well, eat like deliciously on game day, just throw everything that you can on a grill. I wouldn't love to have diabetes, let's be clear. But to have an excuse to be like, I have to eat as much actual real food as possible. If I can just grill a bunch of giant green onions and chicken and carne asada and throw tortillas on there and throw onions on there and just really get good at grilled Mexican food, whatever. And I believe corn tortillas are gluten-free and they don't have carbohydrates, are limited. So that's a good option there. But I would just, anything you can throw on a grill that, an excuse to pile up vegetables and meat is not the worst thing in the world.
There you go. Okay.
Yeah.
Covered a lot of ground here today, Daniel.
Yes.
It is.
Lemon pepper, though. Ooh, that's real good.
Squarely the off season. solidverbal@gmail.com is always how you can get in touch with us. We're also on Twitter. We're on Facebook. We're on Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
We also have a subreddit, reddit.com/r/solidverbal. We didn't start it. It was started by...
Oh, it's great, though. We're in there.
Some super verballers. Yeah, we moonlight over there from time to time. But if you're a fan of the show, it's reddit.com/r/solidverbal.
We pop in there for some rubbing and jerking.
That's right. They've got some exciting conversations that go on around the shows after we post them. So go on and check that out if you're a fan. Hopefully you got in on the bracket pool.
Mm-hmm.
If you did, we will be watching like a hawk to see who comes in first or maybe second, third. I don't know. We want to give some shirts away, Dan. That's the way this works. But we did get a great response to that. We'll be following along with your Oregon Ducks, hopefully over the course of the next couple of weeks and not just tomorrow.
Do you like anybody? Because you have, your alma mater and Notre Dame both not in the tournament.
I haven't watched a minute of college basketball this year. I'm the wrong person to ask. I did lose the Louisville survivor pick that I had. So I've got a couple others that I can rely on. But for now, I'm down a man.
Richard Pitino, right? I've been doing a lot of March Madness content for ESPN Plus Action Network. So I actually am now caught up to speed. I'm rooting for Oregon, but I just want fun. I just want fun times. I watched for the first time in a long time. I watched non-conference college basketball because I wanted to watch Bowl for the Ducks.
Right.
And I was like, oh man, Oregon beats Syracuse. He's hitting 54% of his threes. This is nope, he's hurt. He is done. Like, oh. So then I picked it up in the Pac-12 tournament.
All right. Well, thank you to everyone out there for downloading the show. We will be back next week. Talk more college football. In the meantime, stay tuned to us on social. And if you've got anything to say, give us a holler.
Yes.
solidverbal@gmail.com. For that guy over there, my good friend Dan Rubenstein. For myself, Ty Hildenbrandt, over here in Eastern Pennsylvania. We'll catch you all in the meantime. Stay safe.
Peace.